What's in season? What's in season? What's in season? I hear you ask. Rhubarb, everybody! That's what's in season at the moment. And it's this gorgeous forced rhubarb that we get here. I usually force ours by putting a container on top of it and then it grows and it's absolutely beautiful. But our rhubarb plant is looking a little bit sad and sorry, so this year I'm just going to leave it. And actually, if you are going to force your rhubarb, give it a year off so it can just, I think it weakens it. But this rhubarb is from Yorkshire. It's from Wakefield, which I think is called the Rhubarb Triangle, that's what it's called. And they grow this rhubarb in Candlelight. It's quite an amazing place. I've never been, but I would love to go. So what am I making with rhubarb? I am actually going to make a twice baked rhubarb and ginger soufflé. And please don't freak out when I say the word soufflé, because I'm not going to give you something really, really difficult to make. This isn't one of those really fluffy soufflés that you can't even look at. You have to look at only with one eye, otherwise it will flop. A double baked soufflé is a little bit heavier and it usually doesn't go wrong. So it works in 3 stages. The first stage is we're going to make a compote, a rhubarb compote with orange zest as well. And this compote could actually just be all you do with the rhubarb. Rhubarb goes beautifully with orange and it also goes beautifully with ginger. The ginger is in the soufflé part. So let's start with the rhubarb compote. All right, so how much have we got of each thing in here? We have 400 grams of rhubarb. Wouldn't even matter if you did 500. And if you're just going to do this as a compote, put as much as you want in, but then you might have to increase everything else. But this is for 400 grams of rhubarb. I have 100 grams of caster sugar. That works out quite nicely because it takes that tang out of it. There is the grated zest of an orange, and I've got 100 ml of, it needs to be a sweet white wine. You can also use a Sauterne, but I actually found this in our fridge. It's a Muscatel as well, and that works really lovely. And then vanilla from a vanilla pod. Now, I just want to show you how to take vanilla seeds out of a vanilla pod. You've probably done this many times before, but if you haven't, this is how you do it. So you get a very nice vanilla pod. Don't get one of these things that's really, really hard. This vanilla pod was in a vacuum packed plastic sleeve, so it's nice and soft. You then slice it in half, and I've taken the seeds from this half, and this half I haven't. And what you do is you get the back, don't get that part of the knife, otherwise you'll cut through it, but get the back part of a knife, put your finger on one end, and then all you do is we've got a bit of a kink in there. There's a kink in me, that's for sure. Okay, there we are. See? And that's lovely, actually. That's a good vanilla pod. And then what I do with these, I don't throw them out. I put them in golden caster sugar. So I've got a really big jar, and then I just put these into the caster sugar, and it's really, really lovely. And I like the golden for that. You could put it in all caster sugar or any sugar, and then you've got vanilla sugar. All right, let's go. Easy this. Rhubarb, sugar, zest, make sure that's all gone, vanilla, and the wine. And that is it. Pop that on the stove, let it, I would simmer it very gently, so don't bring it to a really massive boil, just on like a medium heat, let it come to the simmer, and then really this needs to cook for about 10 minutes. You don't really want the rhubarb to completely disintegrate because it will. And in here, I've got some quite small bits of rhubarb that I've mixed up with the larger ones. So what's going to happen is the smaller ones are going to disintegrate and the larger ones will stay whole. So I'll see you in 10 minutes. So this is it after 10 minutes. As you can see, you've got the little flecks of the vanilla through that. The smaller bits have actually stayed nicely firm, and the larger bits are firmer as well, but they are very tender. When you push, you can see how tender it is. It's just really a texture thing. You can mush the whole thing up if you want to. Now, this you can then put in the fridge, have it with cream, ice cream, whatever you want to have it with. Put it in the freezer, and then you've got a compote. That's it, finished.
Make a crumble.
Make a crumble, exactly. Thank you, Mr. N. But we continue. So what I will need with this is I need the pulp and I need the juice separate. So I'm going to put this through a fine sieve here. See, I've got a little bit left in here. And pop this in the sink. That now I'm going to set aside and let it cool a little bit, because I want some of that juice to go into the actual souffle. Alright, so now is the time to start the souffle while the rhubarb is in the sieve and just cooling down a little bit. To make the souffle, it kind of goes in two stages. The first stage, we make a really thick white sauce. We let that cool a little bit, and then we add the eggs to it. You can't do it all together, otherwise everything curdles and it's just a mess, because we're going to have to whisk both the yolks and the whites. But I will show you that in a minute. So for the white sauce, we've got 50 grams of unsalted butter. We have 50 grams of plain flour, a teaspoon of ground ginger, and 250 ml of whole milk. That is our start. That's what we start with. So let's go and do it. So here's the butter. I melted it on quite a high heat. Now I've turned the heat all the way down, because I'm now going to start to add, that's your flour, and this is the ginger. Now, if you've made white sauces before for like lasagna and moussaka and things like that, then you'll know exactly what we're doing now. This cooks, stirring, until we make something called a roux. And you've got to cook it for about a minute or so. I'm just going to turn the heat up a little bit, because what happens is it starts to, this isn't going to change colour because I've got ginger in here, but it starts to smell differently. So that means that it's actually cooking the flour and the ginger. And it's in this case, it's going to smell a little bit like ginger biscuits. So I'm going to wait until I can get that smell. It doesn't take long at all. A minute or two at the most. And while that's just there, I'm just going to get my milk ready. Don't turn it, don't be tempted to, be in a hurry and turn this up on full, because you might burn it. You just have to keep watching it. Okay, so now it's starting to smell. Now I turn the heat right down, and actually what you can do is you can take it off the heat, which is what I'm going to do just for a minute while I add the first. Was I too fast, Mr. Cameraman? Sorry. Now we add a little bit of milk at a time. I'm going to put this back on the heat in a minute. Is that okay? Yeah, okay. So, and you can see it starts to seize and starts to thicken straight away. But the milk, because the milk is cold, it goes into it, you probably won't have lumps. I'm going to turn, in a minute, I'm going to change from a wooden spoon to a whisk. Not me myself, but what I'm cooking with. Let's put the rest of this in. Doesn't take long for this to go at all. The cold milk softens everything and it breaks it up, and hopefully we won't have lumps. And if you do, doesn't matter too much. I'm getting a whisk now. We're going into the whisk. And the whisk, all the whisk does is it breaks it up a bit more. You can continue with a wooden spoon. Okay, so I'm just going to bring this back on the heat in a second. And I feel, there we are. It is quite a thick sauce. It's not like, you know, a runny bechamel. It is thick. And see how all the lumps are going? Now this is nearly ready. Then what I do is I take it off the heat and just let it cool down a bit, and I'm going to turn the oven on. Okay, we're done. At this stage, make sure your oven is on. So it needs to be on 180 Celsius, 160 fan or gas mark 4. You could actually do it before you've done the stage of the white sauce, but I've done it now because ours is a little bit noisy, our oven. All right, so here's the white sauce. It's cooled down a little bit. I've put it in this big container because to that I am going to add 2 tablespoons of this amazing coloured liquid. This is the rhubarb. So 2 tablespoons of that go in. And what I'm going to be doing now is I am going to be loosening the thick sauce. That's the job of this. 50 grams of caster sugar. 3 egg yolks, and I've separated them because in a minute I'm going to whisk the egg whites. Oh, that one's stuck. Right, so gently, 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 not like a maniac, we put this in and see what happens? It starts loosening up that sauce that we made earlier. Right. That's that. So here are my egg whites. Now, if you're a perfectionist or you've done meringues before, then you know how egg whites work. If you don't know how egg whites work, this might be information for you that is very, very valuable. So I'm going to make a soft meringue. So the egg whites have to be standing up by themselves. If they don't get to this stage and they're still floppy, when you add these sugar, you might think, oh well, they'll get thicker and thicker and we'll get, you know, nice standy uppy peaks. It doesn't work like that. The sugar then softens everything. So you have to have the consistency that you want, and I want peaks standing up. So then here's another 50 grams of caster sugar. I will add that to it, and all the caster sugar really does is, let me just get this out of here, is makes it glossy and gives it that meringue part. So I'm going to beat this now until I get the desired consistency, which means that the sugar has to melt and it's going to be glossy. So I'll be back in a minute. There we are. See how glossy that is? Great. Okay, now this is where people freak out. If I was doing a normal souffle, I wouldn't make this meringue base. So that's why you don't have to freak out as much. Because what happens with egg whites is they then start to liquidize again. So you do have to kind of move fast. I'm going to just bang this a little bit. Sorry, but I need to get this stuff off. So I just want to show you how to prepare the ramekin. Souffle ramekins should really have straight sides on them, otherwise they don't really behave well. So when I've got a dish like this, I'll just show you, see how it's rounded underneath and then comes up like this. It doesn't really work well for a souffle. So I've actually got a few of these. I think this quantity is going to make 6 to 8, but we'll see. And I just want to show you how to prepare them. And then I've got a few of these. So all you do is you get a little bit of butter. I'm using unsalted butter on my fingers. I'd make it really, really thin all the way around. It's very, very quick. Okay. That's that. Then I've got caster sugar. And all I do is go around the edges and it's done. Simple. All right, now comes the fun part. If there's going to be any crucial moment in this dish, it's probably now. So make sure that you're using a steel, is that steel? Metal spoon, and I've done the egg whites in a metal dish, but that's not that important. And then what you do is you work gently and briskly. Take it all out, and then you fold. Folding, there's a particular way to fold, and watch what I'm doing. All I'm doing is that. I can cut into the meringue and fold. Cut into the meringue and fold. Not stirring. If you stir, you get rid of all the air from the meringue. See how I'm cutting in and folding? You don't have to do it with such a big spoon. You can do it with a smaller spoon if you want to, but see, I can pick up quite a lot. And I try and lift at the same time, and it then causes air to get trapped in as well.
Why a metal spoon?
Metal spoon is important because if you use a wooden spoon, you don't get the consistency. I think it's something to do with how egg white works against metal. So we're nearly there. And if Mr. N can come back and just have a look, I'm just going to stop. If you could, can you see how many air bubbles are in there? That's what we're after. Don't worry about it being a bit lumpy. That will sort itself out. A few of the bigger lumps I'm going to disperse, and they will disperse anyhow when we put them in the ramekins. There we are. Still a bit of meringue, which is nice. Okay, that's it. So that's your consistency. Let's get these in the oven. I've got 6 here to start. I suppose you could, I could pour. Maybe not. See? Piggy. Just get a little bit more of this meringue here.
How full?
I am going to nearly fill them to the top. If you want them to spill over the top, you have to. So these ramekins, by the way, they're about 150 ml. That's the size you want for this amount. Look at that. Oh, I'm making a mess, but hey, who cares? I'm trying to look at 2 things at once, which doesn't often work with me. So I've gone once round, now I'm going to keep going. So there we are. We ended up with 4 in the end. Okay, this is a little trick. Hopefully it will work. You get your finger and you go on the inside of the ramekin all the way. So you're kind of cleaning it really. It stops the souffle from sticking, and hopefully you'll have a good rise. There's the first one. See how my finger's pushing the souffle away from the edge, and always move inwards. Okay, so they go in the oven. It's going to take about 25 minutes, maybe 28 minutes in my oven, and you want them to be nice and golden on top. But then if you move, and I've actually you can put them straight in, but I'm a bit worried they're going to turn over. If you just give them a wobble, they should be still wobbly. And this is more or less so this is the first part of this souffle production, plus the compote. After these are done, you could actually leave them like they are, but then it won't be double cooked, will it? So, moment of truth. Oh, here we we go. Look at that. Oops. Oh, we've had a bit of spillage, but hey, that doesn't matter. That's flopped only because I've opened the oven already. But there we are. Look how beautiful that is, like that. So I'm going to clean these up, take them out, put them on the rack. And I'll see how I feel. If I don't want to put them on the rack, I'll put them on a plate, but they probably should go on a rack. And what's going to happen now is all the air is going to come out of them to a certain extent. Now, if I was serving this for a dinner party and I wanted it to be a proper, or not a dinner party, who does dinner parties? Well, you know, for dinner, and I wanted a proper souffle, you have to time it because you have to get that rise and get it on the table straight away. That's why it's crucial for souffle. But because we're going to double bake it now, again, it doesn't matter. And like I said, when I take these out, we're not going to eat 4. No, we're not going to eat 4. And then you can cool them down, put them in cling film, put them in the fridge, put them in the freezer. Then when you take them out, you just defrost them really, really slowly. See how the air is coming out of this one already? And that's that, and we will get on with the second lot of baking later on. Now then, everything is done, and this is the second part of the souffle. So this is the twice baked, the second baked. So what I've done is I've got 2 souffles here. I turned them out upside down. This was the one in that tin, which is a little bit bigger than this one. This was in the glass container. And I've put them in this baking dish that can go into the oven. And then what we do is the syrup that we made from the rhubarb here has been strained, and I strained it into this container, and there's a little bit left in there. But what we want is 100 ml of this syrup to 300 ml double cream, and we're going to mix the syrup into the double cream first of all, and then of course, like I said, I've got some syrup left here, but I'm thinking cocktails. That's what I'm thinking. Yes. Okay, so let's not get excited. Give that a stir. And I'm not going to, I won't use all of this cream. This cream is for the full amount of soufflés. And there should be, depending on the size of the ramekin, there should be about 5 soufflés. So I'm going to keep this cream, and I've got another 2. I made big soufflés, so I've got another 2 left. And I'll keep this in the fridge, and I will use it tomorrow. We'll probably have it tomorrow. And then what you do is, I'm going to pour this over the top of the soufflés as much as I want. So this is going to be your sauce. Let me just look how much I've got. I'll pour a little bit more so that we've got like filling the whole container. That's that. Then it's nice to sprinkle a bit of brown sugar on top. Whenever I do sprinkling of anything, I always use Demerara because I like the consistency of it. And really, it just depends on how much you want. I've just got a few lumps in there, and I like to sprinkle liberally on top. Okay, that's that. Oh, that's my oven. And then I'm just going to get a new spoon. We get the actual rhubarb that we made, and we just dollop it around in the sauce. You could put it on top, but I think if you put it on top, it might affect the, if you look at that, you see all this orange zest in there and all the little black bits, that's the vanilla. Beautiful. Okay, so again, I'll use about half of this because I want to use the other half tomorrow. Where will I put that? Put it there. That's it. That goes now in the oven for about 20 minutes. Depends. If you've frozen these or put them in the fridge, it might take a little bit longer, but it's probably a good idea to bring everything out and bring it to room temperature before you do this. otherwise, I don't know, it might take a little bit longer, but hey, it doesn't really matter. So this thing goes in the oven and I will see you when they're ready. Temperature of the oven is 180 Celsius, 160 fan, gas mark 4. Bye. Right, the moment of truth. Ooh, gosh, that smells beautiful. There we are. Look, wobble, wobble, wobble. Oh, look, and it's still bubbling. How beautiful is that? Now the sauce will be a little bit runny to start off with, but if you leave it, it will thicken up. And actually, if I give that a wobble again, the sauce is, see, it's actually quite thick. I left it in a little bit longer than 20 minutes because I wanted to just brown this around here. So there we are. Bon appetit, everybody. Nice to see you again, and I will see you next time with my next video of What's in Season, I Hear You Ask. If you want to subscribe to my channel, that would make me very excited, and give me a thumbs up as well. And any comments, if you want to make any comments, nice comments, then that'd be good too. So I shall see you next time. Bye. What's in season? What's in season? What's in season? I hear you ask.